All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Professors of Profit vlogcast. I'm your host, Dr. F Scott Feil, and we are coming at you live from APTA's PPS conference up in Grapevine, Texas this year. We're kicking back, having a drink, and I'm here with Dr. Trace McClintock to talk all things real estate. So, Trace, thanks for coming. Can you tell our audience a little bit about who you are and what you're up to these days?
For sure. Well, first, thanks for having me on, Scott. So like you said, my name is Trace McClintock. I'm a full-time physical therapist. I work for the Department of Veterans Affairs in Temple, Texas. Worked down in Austin for a little bit, but I've been there for about 3 years. And at the beginning of 2021, I decided to get my real estate license. So I'm a part-time realtor with Keller Williams as my brokerage, and really just been trying to figure out how to weave in not just, the side hustle aspect of being a realtor part-time, but also getting into the investing side of real estate as well as kind of the end goal with all this. So got my license, my real estate license, to kind of see how the back end works. So a lot of the paperwork is kind of overwhelming. Trying to make offers, what's a good offer? You don't even know if you only ever bought 1 or 2 homes. So just getting on a team that does, I think we have around 50 transactions on the year, and maybe even be a little bit more than that in the Austin area. So kind of seeing the inner workings of how the team works and getting introduced to not only the other agents, but their network of contractors and investors. So.
Well, full disclaimer, Trace helped me find my most recent house down in Wimberley, Texas. So cheers to that, man. I appreciate you. Tell us a little bit about why healthcare clinicians and academicians and professors should even consider something like real estate when it comes to a side gig or side hustle.
So there's kind of 2 avenues that we can look at. I'll talk with like becoming a licensed realtor first, and then also the investment side of things. So the reason I decided to become a licensed realtor was because out of school, after my first year of, when the newness wears off, I kind of found myself wanting a little bit more than just 9 to 5 clinic work. And I knew myself, if I just did PRN work for, 50 or 75 bucks an hour, that's great. But to do more physical therapy would probably have burnt me out. So my approach to it was, what is the highest ticket item that I can think of to sell? And houses in Austin, I mean, the median home price is like $500,000 at this point.
Yeah, the market is crazy right now in the Austin area.
Yeah, it's been going up and up and up. And that makes it, all you have to do is one deal and you cover the cost of your license plus more. And, you'd have to work so many hours as a therapist, and I could do, 2 to 3 transactions a year and make more doing that. So I decided to go towards the licensed realtor route, basically because a lot of what you're doing as a therapist is what you're doing as a realtor. You're trying to make sure that the client's happy. There's a lot of paperwork and headache on the back end that no one really deals with unless you're in it. And people kind of think they can do your job if they just search on Zillow. Like if I just find a YouTube program that says, here's the chest day that I need to do, or here's how I rehab my shoulder, people think they can handle it until they get stuck and have a problem, and then they come to the professionals. So
yeah, that is a really interesting correlation. Want to make the customer happy, right? Definitely a lot of paperwork and documentation that nobody likes to do in the back end. Yep. And then again, they think they can do it until they try to get in the weeds and they can't. Yep. I knew from the get-go I didn't want any part of it.
Yeah. So. That's after going through the process of buying our first home. It was like, there's got to be a way to learn how to do this so that it becomes easier. Because like I said, our goal is to get, mine and my wife's goal, is to get into investing, because whether, you like it or not, real estate makes the most millionaires compared to any other profession. So to get long-term generational wealth, you probably are going to have to own some properties, unless you have a great idea that you can sell for millions or billions of dollars. You're probably going to end up owning some property at some point. So getting the exposure to that, it's kind of like sort of my shadowing hours, I guess, if we're going to keep it related to healthcare. I'm figuring out what I need to do so that we can get into the investment side of things.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, right? I think it's brilliant to get your real estate license and use that as a little side gig and side hustle and, sell a couple homes throughout the year, make a nice little chunk of change. But being a realtor also helps you on the investment side of things, because you see what's coming down the pipeline before anybody else does. You have a network that may know some things that are going to be coming down the pipeline, right? So again, you have that leg up on everybody else. If there was something you wanted to go and purchase right off the bat, you could. But let's talk a little bit about investment. That was one of my goals, one of my big theses when I first started the Professors of Profit, masterclass. And that was basically all these little side gigs and side hustles that I was doing was, basically amassing wealth to then invest in something that was going to be my retirement. I have a 401k. I'm not terribly sold on it. It's free money that I put in. If I put in X amount of dollars, my company gives me X amount of dollars. So I just do it. Right. But I don't want to count on that for my retirement. I don't think it's going to be enough. It'll just be a nice little chunk of change when I do retire eventually. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I thought I could just get a couple of rental properties, vacation type rentals, Airbnb types or something. I definitely wanted one in Charleston where my family's at. I wanted one down in the Florida Keys because I love the Keys. I love going fishing, playing golf, and then maybe one in the Texas area, maybe Galveston or something like that. But it didn't necessarily make sense because those were all kind of expensive type rentals. And again, they were, beachy type rentals. But realistically, if you do want to invest, it seems to me like the 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home is the easiest one to rent out. And if you can get a couple of those under your belt, and it's kind of changed my thinking now, if I can invest in one rental home for the next 10 years, by the time the 15th year rolls around, my first house is already starting to be paid off, and so I'm not making much per house early on. It's maybe a couple $100, but then as the mortgages start getting paid off by the renters, then it starts turning into 1,500 or 2,000 per month per home. And like you said, that's where the generational wealth starts coming. So tell us a little bit about the investing side of real estate.
Yeah, so that's kind of, like I said, always been the end goal. That's the exciting part for me, is kind of seeing that cash flow, because, it's great to throw money into the stock market, but, you can only do so much research and you have to have the capital. The biggest thing with investing in real estate is you got to take advantage of the leverage and use other people's money. So trying to get a loan for $200,000 to start a small business, I've never tried it. I assume it's pretty hard. Trying to get a loan for $200,000 for a home, it's a little bit of a headache, but anybody can basically do it. It's as long as you've got the credit score and the income, they've got loan officers that take care of most of the headache for you. So it's not that difficult. And kind of like you were saying, if you can get a couple homes, you got appreciation, you've got all the tax benefits of owning a home, because you can, write off the depreciation. There's a lot of things. If it becomes, you can put it in your own LLC and have the property, there's so many different benefits to owning the home. But one of the ways that we got started, and this is where people, they hear real estate investing and they're thinking 130 rooms in, a hotel, or, a multifamily where you got to have, I don't know, 8 doors or something like that. It doesn't have to be that complicated. So we got started in it, just getting our, like you said, 3-bed, 2-bath home in Texas. Bought it for 3.5% down. We were willing to pay the PMI because we were going to do what's called house hacking. And for any listeners that aren't aware, basically house hacking is you get a home, and as long as it's a single family, a duplex, triplex, or 4plex, it's still considered residential. So you can get your normal FHA or conventional loan, and put your 3.5% down. So the amount of money into it is minimal. I believe for our house, it was a little bit over 200,000. We ended up like $11,000 into the deal after fees and things like that. But we knew when we were going to get that house, we were going to house hack one of the rooms. So we had, we live across the street from a college, and we posted on Airbnb, hey, we have a room for rent. We were specific to like traveling nurses, pre-med students. We kind of put that in the listing. And
which is another interesting way to keep one foot in the healthcare booth.
Exactly.
That field, that type of student, or clinician. And so it's kind of keeping things, that relatable.
Exactly. And that's through 2 of my rotations. I stayed at an Airbnb. So I knew that there's a niche for, I've got 3 months of a rotation. I don't want to stay in a hotel. I don't know anybody in that area. I'm going to hop on Airbnb and see if I can find something relatively cheap. So we got lucky. Ours was posted on Airbnb for a day, and we had a kid that hit us up and said, I'm interested. I'm in a bad living situation right now. I'd love to start as soon as I can. I'm a junior. If everything works out, I'm willing to stay till the end of my senior year. So, we painted the room, stocked it with, a mini fridge, a TV, and a desk and a bed, maybe $500 into making the room habitable for a college student. And within that one day posted on Airbnb, he was there for the next 18 months, paying us, about half our mortgage. And it was a little weird at first, but it was a sacrifice we were willing to make to cover.
Yeah, you have a roommate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We had a roommate. We were both used to having roommates anyways, so it wasn't a big deal. And honestly, he was an ideal roommate. So that made it to where we were thinking of continuing to house hack. But then when we got him, we had him for 18 months and he did his dishes, never made a mess, was real quiet and respectful. We were like, I don't want to roll the dice again.
Yeah.
Like we kind of made our money back.
Right.
I'm good. We don't really need another roommate. So so that's house hacking. You can get in, especially like if you're in undergrad or in grad school now, if you can get into a home and rent out to people in, even your own cohort or people at your school, someone else is paying your mortgage, you may even cash flow if
Right.
you've got a couple rooms rented out.
Yeah, when I was in undergrad, we had a guy who his dad bought the house. 4 of us lived there. We paid him, rent essentially.
Mhm.
And I think he was making a little bit of money off it, but 2 of us were graduated already. We were already out of school. We were just looking for a cheap place to stay.
Right.
While I was trying to do my prereqs to get into PT school at the time. The other guy was just graduating, looking for a job locally in Winston-Salem there. But, the 4 of us paid rent for the year that he was still a senior. And another one of his roommates was another senior. And then 2 of us were out of school at that point, and it worked out perfectly.
Yeah. And that kind of leads into like, if you're at a point in your life where saying, maybe you're not looking to start a family and you're okay with moving every couple of years and you got a good, maybe you're doing a travel job or something where you're not really locked down and you're willing to move, you can do, I don't remember if this was on Bigger Pockets or if I just made it up, but kind of the single family snowball, to where kind of like the debt snowball, you're basically getting a home at that 3.5% down, you live in it for a year because that's all you're legally required to do. If you saved up enough for another 3.5% down, you have your first rental property. You rent out your first one, go on to the next one. You do that 3 or 4 times before you're starting a family or doing anything crazy. And you could even house hack the new home. So you could literally cash flow, have the rental property going, and now you've got 2 or 3 or 4 homes. It's just single family. So,
well, Trace, what's some tips or tricks or golden nuggets you picked up along the way when it comes to real estate as a side gig or a side hustle? If somebody's looking to get started, what are some advice you give?
So one of the biggest reasons, again, that I looked into it is because the cost of getting your real estate license, again, depends on the state. Like it can vary, I'm sure, a little bit, but it was like $1,000 to get licensed to become a realtor, which I've spent more on CEU courses. And the ROI on a CEU course, unfortunately for us, is it's great for treating your patients, but in terms of income, not really doing anything. Whereas worst case scenario, becoming a realtor, if you go to buy your home or sell your home, you're saving 3% to not have to pay the realtor fee. If you've got, we'll just make it easy and say $100,000 home, you're saving $3,000 right out of the gate. The cost of the license is $1,000. Even if you have to relicense for a couple years, it's worth it. And if you can, even when you become a licensed realtor, one of the other benefits of it is you can do referrals. So if you're not a licensed agent, you can't technically refer a friend to a real estate team and get any commission off it. I think they can give you like $50, which in Austin, if you refer somebody to your agent friend and they sell them a $400,000 home and you make $50 off of it, okay.
Yeah.
But if you're a licensed realtor, you can get 25% of that commission check. So if you've got some friends that are looking for, mid to upper level homes, your referral can be $5,000 to even $10,000. Like if you've got some expensive friends. So it's a very easy way to leverage time, because like on weekends, I'll go show homes for $50 a door. So instead of treating a patient in an hour, I can show 3 homes and make $150. It doesn't happen as frequently, but as a healthcare clinician, you're used to having to deal with people, make them happy, and perform at a professional level. So you're competing usually with, maybe an 18 to 20-year-old kid that became an agent because he thought it was a good idea and he's trying out. So he's showing homes in sweatpants and a t-shirt. You come with a tie and you kind of bring that level of professionalism. It's not that hard to get clients. Once the agents in your area that maybe are a little bit busier know that you're going to provide a professional service for their clients, they'll pay you versus someone they don't know. So for nuggets, I guess, for becoming a realtor, it's really not that difficult. If you've gone through your coursework for physical therapy school or any healthcare profession, you can handle the course load of becoming a realtor. It's different. It's a different mindset because it's a lot more legal jargon, but it's studying, it's taking a test, it's a standardized test. There's a prep course for it. It's really not that challenging to complete. On the investment side of things, I would say, being able to let people know is the biggest thing. Like if you're looking for investment properties, letting your inner circle know that, or I guess keeping it on their radar, or like if you have a friend that's a realtor, keeping it on their radar, because that's how you're going to get the deals, like you said, before other people. Because once it's on Zillow or Redfin, it's likely not a great investment deal. You can find some, if they've been on there for 200 days or something like that, you can offer under market, maybe, but building your network, as with anything, as with any healthcare profession or any kind of side hustle or side gig that you're doing, your network is your net worth kind of thing. The people that you know are going to be the things that pay dividends. Like take care of the people that are taking care of you in real estate, because a lot of people are trying to look for that bottom dollar. They're trying to just turn and burn clients and move as quick as you can. And that's where companies, like Zillow or other companies kind of get burnt, because once the deal is done, that's the end of the transaction. Keeping the interaction with people is a big deal, whether it's real estate as a realtor or investing as an investor, making sure clients are happy and the people in your area know what you're doing.
Well, Trace, I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing your knowledge with the audience. Where can people find you if they want to reach out to you and learn more about this, or just kind of see what you're up to these days?
So I'm probably most active on Facebook and Instagram. It's just my first and last name, Trace McClintock. I don't have TikTok or any of that yet, but if you send me a message on Facebook or Instagram, I'm usually back with you within a day. So, and I love talking real estate. Like it's something I'm passionate about. I like doing it. And I think anybody that intends on gaining that generational or long-term wealth, like you have to at least have knowledge of it. You're eventually going to own a home probably. And if you need help through that process, like it's good to know somebody in the space. So,
well, point in case. I mean, I knew I had to move. I had to move quickly, and luckily, thanks to you and your knowledge and the area you were in, we were able to get it done.
Yeah, so it was the perfect storm. Like it was great, and having a client that understands and listens is a blessing. Like in terms of real estate. So
well, and again, it's knowing when to outsource, right? And I knew I didn't want anything to do with it. I just go to the right people who know what they're doing, and they'll take care of you.
Yep.
Well, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.